My name is Pastor Delaney Schlake-Kruse, and I serve St. Paul's Lutheran Church at 2812 West Wisconsin Avenue in the city of Milwaukee. Over the past 3 years, we have received money from Outreach for Hope to help us grow deeper relationships with those in our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is a densely populated area between 27th and 35th Streets and Wisconsin and Highland Boulevard. There's a lot of folks who live there and a lot of organizations in our neighborhood. So over the past 3 years, 4 years really, we have been working to get to know the people who are serving our neighbors alongside us. In an effort to do that, Outreach for Hope has helped us to buy gifts from Black-owned businesses in the city of Milwaukee to share with our neighbors to make that first connection. This year, one of the organizations that we visited as a congregation was the Red Cross. Back in the 90s, our congregation was a shelter for the Red Cross. When people were in times of crisis or emergency, perhaps in case of an apartment fire, we would host them. Families would come and sleep in the basement of St. Paul's, housed by the Red Cross through our congregation's building. We haven't done that in a long time, but as we've been seeking to grow more deeply rooted in our neighborhood again after a long time being there, we connected with the Red Cross. We took some treats and shared them as bagels from Ruby's Bagels here in Milwaukee, and visited with the staff people of the Red Cross over the summer. We learned more about what they do, how they serve our neighborhood. They're just around the corner on Wisconsin, next door to the church. And we learned about the opportunity to become a host again for people in emergency situations. And so after that initial contact, we continued to talk back and forth, and our council decided that our church ought to and would like to follow the call that God had extended to us as we get to know our neighbors to become an emergency shelter again. And so a week before Christmas, a person from the staff of the Red Cross came to St. Paul's and met with our office manager and myself. He looked around the building and we showed him where people would be sleeping if they were to come to St. Paul's. And we showed him the community spaces where people could gather and warm up and rest in a time of chaos. And the Red Cross determined that we were a good spot for them. And so we have now entered fully into this agreement where St. Paul's can be a crisis space, as well as our neighbors down the street, Redeemer, are doing. This type of engagement in our neighborhood is a way that we follow the Holy Spirit at St. Paul's. We really want to be planted where we are. My internship supervisor told me when I was in seminary, if you want to know where God has called you, look at your feet. And so as we look at our feet, so to speak, in the congregation, and we recognize where God has placed us for the last 180 years as a church, but especially in this particular place since 1917, we want to follow God. We want to respond to the Holy Spirit's invitation to get to know the people who live there. And in so doing, we have had so many incredible God sightings. I could tell you all day about the ways that God has been present in this journey of meeting our neighbors more fully over the last 3 to 4 years. But this experience of the Red Cross gives us an opportunity to respond to God's call, to serve our neighbors, to do the Matthew 25 thing and try to house some folks who need somewhere to sleep, to feed somebody who might be hungry, really to offer a compassionate space for people in crisis when their home has been destroyed or is uninhabitable for a time being, that they can come and be warm and be safe at 28th in Wisconsin in the church building that God has given us to share with our neighborhood. The God sighting to me is the openness, the generosity in our community and the spaces that are filled by the Holy Spirit's connection that helps a church like ours, a beautiful, vibrant, small congregation, to connect with our neighbors in meaningful ways and to build a mutual relationship where people can be served, where people can experience the love and grace of God, and we can share what we have with one another. So this Lent, I hope for more God sightings to be made apparent to all of us throughout the Greater Milwaukee Synod as we notice, as we look at our feet and see where God has called us and recognize what opportunities exist in our own theological neighborhoods or our own physical neighborhoods, whether at home or at church. There's so many connections that the Holy Spirit is just waiting to make.